So I was watching a cartoon program called War of the Worlds Goliath the other day, which is predicated on the idea that the Martians driving their tripods showed up in 1899, I believe, just as in the novel by H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, and they were defeated by our germs. Basically, I mean, our war machines couldn't touch them, guns couldn't touch them. They had these oogie boogie heat rays, which would turn you into like, I don't feel so good. So anyway, War of the Worlds Goliath is the idea that essentially the Martians try again 15 years later, because it has something to do with the orbital mechanics that allows Earth and Mars to be as close together as possible, because I don't know if you ever read the story, but in War of the Worlds, they fire these they're essentially hollow cannon shells that are part rocket. And these things come to Earth and they break open, and up come the tripods, and the tripods are like, okay. Now remember, the first time it was the germs that killed them, right? Basically, they were killed by the common cold. I mean, that's what it works out to. There was bacteria and stuff that got them, but, essentially they caught the sniffles and they died, right? And that sucked for them. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, so they're coming back, right? So, this time they're going to be smart, right? They're going to bring their Benadryl, and they're going to bring their Dimetap, and they're going to bring their Neocitrin, and you'll be able to tell, right? Like, you'll be able to, even though the Martian Oogie Boogies always stay inside their tripods, because it's dangerous out of them tripods. I mean, shit could just jump right at you. So you stay in your tripod. Your tripod is your home, right? But you could tell who's getting sick with what, because there'd be like a whole bunch of tripods all leaning up against the side of buildings having to snooze. And those would be the ones on the NyQuil, right? It'd be like, what's going on here? Well, they're having a snooze because they're on the NyQuil. They didn't get the day formula, and that's it. They're out. Come back in 12 hours. They might be good to go. The ones that'll be on the Neocitrin, you'll be able to tell them, because if you listen really carefully, when you get that cup of Neocitrin and it's just too hot, right? But your parents keep saying, drink it while it's hot so that it works as effectively as possible. Just drink it, right? But so you try to drink it, it's like, ow, and you burn your This is what, you listen to them, listen to the tripods with their little, you can tell the Neocitrin ones, because they're just like, oh, geez, man, that's hot. Or, whatever it sounds like in Martianish. And you'll be able to tell the ones that, that are sucking on the Buckleys, right? Is they'll be like, ah! This is all you'll hear, The only problem is that if they have a half a brain, these Martians, which they didn't really to begin with, and they didn't really need to because they had superior technology. Who needs to have any brains when you get superior technology? Their medical technology wasn't too hot, or they would have said, don't drink the water, don't breathe the air, because that's bad for you. But I digress. If they have any brains at all, this second wave of Martians, they would get some humans, and instead of making snacks out of them, they would interrogate them, and they would find out what other nasty diseases are out there, right? Because it could be pretty hardcore, right? It's like, and you can just imagine the Martian High Council sitting around reading reports, going, really? You catch this disease? And you do what? You break out into hives? What's a hive? Aren't we a hive? No. See, if you look right there, it says it's a pustule. A pustule? How do these humans survive? The faster we eradicate these things off the planet and just sterilize the planet, the better off we're going to be. And a really clever captive could say things like, I have an idea, go to Africa. It's nice in Africa. And then, when the first 50 of them come down with Ebola, it's like, what is that? Well, the African word for it translates into, my eyes are bleeding, and that's not good. So, and that's not even mentioning the STDs, right? Because the first time one of these Martians came down with the clap, and don't laugh because you know what happened, right? A couple of Martians are sitting around one day and it's like, kind of bored. I wonder what the human girlies are like. And then bam, that's it. They'd get the scratches. They'd get the nastinesses and all the stuff that goes along with that. Right? You gotta go see the doctor, get a quick shot, needle the size of a javelin. Yeah, although it'll probably just kill them. Their little Martian, because, I mean, they're so vulnerable to any sort of disease, right? So their little Martian pizzles would just, like, boom, fall right off. Right off. And then, as if that isn't bad enough, right? So they figure out that we have medicines that can help us as humans, and some of those medicines are effective for them, some of them aren't effective for them. Personally, I think they'll just all jump on the NyQuil, you know, because NyQuil says, I don't need to be cured, I just need to sleep. And how can you argue with that? But they'll figure out that we have other kinds of medicines, right? Because a lot of this stuff is done in English, and English is probably the single most confusing language ever invented by humanity. The single most confusing language ever invented in all of Christendom is English. So they'll be looking at this thing going, oh, well, I go to the pharmacy and get drugs, but this strange little human in a hoodie is also offering to sell me drugs. So now you have the concept of the Martians on human recreational drugs. The ones that are on pot will, for a little while, be unrecognizable from the ones that are on NyQuil. They'll just be leaning on the buildings, too. They'll be like, dude, what are we here for again? I don't know, but son of a bitch, I'm hungry. Hey, you human. No, don't go away. What is that? What? A tuber plant cut into thin slices and fried? That sounds absolutely fantastic. Go throughout all of the land and bring all of these things to me. Bring them to me and to my friend. And I will let you live. I will give you an exalted position. And bring the squishy things that taste sweet and have white filling inside. For we are hungry as hell. Can you imagine? And then they get their hands on cocaine. And you could see the ones that get their hands on the coke, right? Because they would be the tripods marching very, very quickly towards the river, and then marching very quickly back, and then marching very quickly towards the river. And, you know, you just know these guys would get, like, their first taste of beer, and it would just be all over, right? You might as well hang a giant big screen TV and put the Bruins game on, right? And within, like, 25 minutes of this and a couple of open kegs of lager, and you've got Martian tripods acting like dude bros cheering for the Bruins. Because if any team in the NHL says we welcome everybody, it's the Boston Bruins, right? You could just see them going down to wherever. I can't. The name of the arena where Boston plays their hockey games, you know, escapes me. But you could just see them down there, and in their little tripod, because they got mini tripods, for when they don't want to do war and stuff, because their bodies are all like, they don't even want to step outside their little mini tripods. And it's like, who's that over there in the stands? It's Martian overlords. Pissa. There'd be big, like, bench clearing brawls and stuff. Fantastic. Nothing says bench clearing brawl like a bunch of beer and a Boston Bruins game. This is how we would screw them. This would just be terrible. It'd be terrible. And they'd get their hands on ecstasy. You'd look down the street, you'd see 6 or 7 of these tripods rubbing up against each other, eh? Going, oh, I never imagined. Oh. And they'd be firing their devastating heat death rays just off into the air so they can all just stand around and look at the pretty colors. Eh? Look at the pretty colors. Although I think that might be more like acid. You imagine the first time a Martian in a tripod drops acid? Could you just imagine? No, I haven't seen any humans here. But I'm pretty sure that there's a small rodent trying to play poker with me outside of my tripod. That'd be fantastic. This is how we would route them. This is how we would do it. We would give them access to all of the recreational abilities of Earth. But mostly we would just give them the damn NyQuil.